Ugly truth is, founders are the ones who usually hold their businesses back, possibly without even realizing it. Hi, welcome to Walls Coffee. My name is Tamara, and I help business owners grow their businesses through streamlining processes and operations. And with 13 years in business across continents and industries such as metal trading, banking, telecommunications, and e commerce, there are things that keep showing up over and over again, regardless if it is a startup or an established business. Founders unintentionally become the bottleneck in their own company, and if you're making any of these mistakes, you're probably holding your own business back without even realizing it. So let's go to number one. So the first one is testing, which is quite surprising to me because I have a feeling that in the last couple of years, everyone is talking about testing. And I couldn't agree more. I think testing is crucial, and not testing can literally break down your company. And that was the case with one of the companies I worked with. So basically what's happening, when you just start out, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough self-confidence that you know what will work. So you batch order a small amount from the production and you test. And then when you get feedback from a customer, then you invest more money into production and you go into bigger production. And that's something that should be kept in mind for every product. No matter how successful you are, you need to get feedback from your customers, from the audiences first. Because what ends up happening usually when you don't test a product is you have shelves full of unsold inventory and hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash stuck in the warehouses. And the reality is, if you're not testing, you're gambling. And in business, that's the luxury most cannot afford. So I always suggest order small amounts, order just samples, and test everything with samples. Try ads if you're using ads. Try email, pre-orders, waiting lists, pre-launch, just to see the reaction of your audience. Focus groups are also great, whatever you can, because an early feedback early on can save you a fortune later. Also, talk to your customers if you already have a good number of customers. If you already have your customers, talk to them, ask them what they need, what they feel is missing. Make them feel involved. Make them feel involved. Make the best possible solution to their problem. What is usually the case is that something that founder thinks is super high quality, is gonna sell well, it's not like there's nothing similar on the market and so on, and it's all true. But if you haven't communicated that to your audience, if they don't see the value that you are seeing in it, it won't sell. And you invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, which for a lot of companies today, to have that kind of cash stock in the warehouse is not a great solution. So just test, test, test. You need to spend $500 to $1,000 on a product to test to see if it's working or not. It's better that spend that money first and then see if it's worth investing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Next one is forecasting. It is something that a lot of founders skip altogether, and I have to say I completely understand why. It is not an easy thing to do, especially today, in this day and age, especially having in mind the things that you cannot control. So having in mind the tariffs and everything that's going on currently in the world, all these companies have to reforecast, and they have absolutely zero clue what will happen. I will still say it's always best to rely on data than on rough guesses. Because if you don't forecast, the outcome will be the same basically. Either you're ending up with a lot of unsold inventory in the warehouses, or you don't have enough to meet demand. And either way, you're losing money. And forecasting isn't about being perfect, because that's impossible. It's about being prepared. Use tools, even simple spreadsheets. You don't need an ERP system to start, to track sales trend, growth, and seasonality. The more you forecast, the better decisions you will make, especially when it comes to managing inventory and cash. It will completely change how you plan, spend, and grow. Usually, founders think that their company, which is not going well, the growth is not there, and so on, they think it's like a big deal issue or something like that. And the truth is, it is not. I've been working with a lot of companies, and usually you have only 5 things that keep repeating across every company. And you can just pinpoint exactly when you start talking with people, you just pinpoint exactly what's wrong with the company. Because when you're outside, you have a better perspective when you talk to them from the outside. And the thing is, people have hard times accepting their mistakes. That's completely human. I mean, you're human. Of course, you're going to make mistakes. And I would also apply, especially today, 80-20 rule to most of the things. So the truth is, probably 20% of your SKUs are bringing 80% of profit, and I would just stick to those. Discontinue all the other SKUs that are not selling well and just focus on the best quality, on the best sellers that your customers really like, and innovate on them and make them better, and test every innovation before you go into production. Let's talk about measurement, because this is where a lot of businesses fall apart quietly. They look at wrong numbers. They look at sales and profit and maybe cash in the bank, but that's not enough. The truth is, what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. You need to build a dashboard of real-time visibility into your business, hour by hour, if that's possible, in this stage of your company. I don't know. For everyone is different. And what should you be tracking? Your margins, of course, but not just overall profit. Per product, per channel. Your marketing spend efficiency. Are your ads actually converting profitably? Your customer lifetime value. How much is each customer really worth? Your acquisition costs. Are you bringing in customers at a loss? One thing about this that I will say, you should strive to be profitable from the first order. I know this is sounding crazy to most of you, but that is possible. And there are a lot of companies, very healthy companies, who are profitable from the first order. So just brainstorm, test, reinvent, pivot, and just keep doing it until you find a way to be profitable from the first order. Your inventory turnover, how long does stock sit on shelves? Production and shipping lead times, your refund rates, fulfillment speed, back orders, all that speaks volume to your operational health. And operational health is a key to your business, but that will be one of the future topics. When you measure the right things, problems surface early. Another one that I keep seeing all the time is founders hiring family, friends, or people they trust, but who are not the right fit for the role. And when that happens, one person ends up doing the job of 10. Or worse, a critical function is executed poorly. I'm shocked. I cannot even tell you how many times I've seen this, and I still keep seeing it. Another red flag that is actually pretty funny is job tests. Job tests these days, mostly, I'm not saying everyone, but like 60% of job tests, maybe even more, are completely detached from the role, like abstract case studies and kind of questions that you will never need for the job you're applying for, or Apple-style interviews. And all these things reveal more how out of touch leadership is than how fit a candidate is. And these tests often show that the founders don't actually understand the role they're hiring for, or they don't trust their own ability to evaluate. So I always suggest focus on hiring A players who are clear on the role, compensated fairly, and align with your company's goals. You don't need more people. You need the right people. 5 A players will always outperform 10 average ones. And I know some of you will say, yeah, but in case someone leaves, I have a backup. I agree. But do you really think that someone who feels valued, who is paid very well, who is challenged, who has room for growth, who has learning budgets, will just leave the company and go to another one? No, absolutely not. People stay where they feel valued, seen, and challenged, and paid, of course. Now let's talk about something a bit harder to admit. Founders often limit their own company's growth. This is also something that is happening quite often, and you just know from the first call, you just know what the problem is. The thing is, most of us have beliefs about money, power, or people that we haven't questioned. And as a founder, these beliefs seep into your company. Some of the examples are: if you believe money is always scarce, you will never invest in the right systems or people. If you believe no one can do it like you will micromanage and burn out. If you believe sharing is a weakness or risky, you'll keep your team in the dark and block their growth. Your company is a mirror. If you're scared, secretive, or overly controlling, your team will reflect that energy back. Your mindset shapes the culture. What you believe at the top becomes the invisible ceiling for everyone below. So start doing the inner work. Look at your default settings, where they come from, whether they are serving your goals. The fastest way to scale is to evolve yourself first. And that is the case always. Start communicating openly with your team. Share goals, updates, and even problems. This will foster a sense of shared responsibility, where everyone feels they have a stake in the business's success. Now, let's dive into pitfall number 6, not building systems that scale. If you're running your business on spreadsheets, emails, or tools that are not communicating with each other, you're running on a borrowed time. I work with companies who have grown quickly, but their systems were never set up to scale. As they expanded, things started breaking down. But here's the thing, you don't need to rebuild from scratch. You just need to start layering in structure. And that means integrating right tools, automating as much as possible, and creating workflows that everyone understands. Systems don't slow you down. They're what free you up to move faster. And the next one is also quite juicy, because founders usually have a hard time accepting this. And it's also very often the case. It's about top performers. Many founders fail to recognize and reward their top performers. They may be reluctant to offer bonuses, raises, or recognition for hard work. When you don't recognize or value the people who are driving your success, it sends the wrong message, and they will eventually leave. And the cost of replacing your best talent is always higher than retaining them. Don't wait for annual reviews to give feedback or rewards. You don't need a big HR program to fix this. I would argue you don't need HR at all unless you're a huge company. In a lot of bigger companies, I see that HR is actually the biggest problem. So that is something to have in mind as well. By recognizing wins, give meaningful feedback, create incentives, learning budgets, people want to feel seen and valued, and they want to grow, especially your A players. Create a culture of appreciation, give bonuses, learning budgets, call out wins in real time, give them flexible working hours, give them more vacation days. And I guarantee that if you give all of this, your best players will not use you. Now, we have resistance to employees' ideas. It's not always the case, but it does happen quite often. And I work with founders who have a hard time accepting ideas from their teams. They feel that they know best and that everything new might disrupt the current flow of the company. The problem with this is when you shut down new ideas from employees, you miss out on innovation and fresh perspective. It also creates a culture where your team feels undervalued and less motivated to contribute. As a founder, you have to be open to the feedback and ideas from your team. Not every idea will work, but the ones they do can make a huge difference in scaling your company. Foster a culture of innovation by listening to your team and empowering them to contribute. Because some of the best breakthroughs come from the people that are closest to the problem, and all the ways that founders unknowingly become the bottlenecks in their own company. But here, the good news is they're all fixable. The first step is awareness, and the second step is action. If this resonated with you, you're already ahead of most founders. Subscribe for more sharp, practical insights to help you streamline operations, scale intentionally, and if you have certain questions or if you have some problems that you're going through in your company and you cannot afford, I'd be happy to answer for free. Just write in the comments below or send me an email. It's in the description below. This is Wolf's Coffee. Thanks for tuning in and stay sharp.